Narcissism is very, very hard to work with, to interact with, in the sense that what you're dealing with are a lot of defense mechanisms, a lot of very maladaptive defense mechanisms, but they are all there to protect this very, very fragile sense of themselves. On one hand, they believe themselves to be very special. They're deserving of special treatment. They deserve to be admired. Any kind of narcissism exists on a spectrum. With covert narcissism, the grandiosity is still there. It's just that it's internalized. With a grandiose narcissist, they will tell you to your face how amazing they are, all the brilliant things they have accomplished, and how everybody loves them, and the factory would close down if they left. With covert narcissism, the grandiosity is still there, but it's internalized, okay? And what you find is a lot of low mood, depression, bitterness as well, that no one sees them as special. No one gets how amazing they are. No one appreciates how amazing they are. So it's all internalized. It just comes out differently. So this sense of being special, amazing, unique, worthy of special treatment, and so on, it's false. I think at their very, very core, there is this deep-rooted feeling of shame. Sometimes it's a shame of how they were brought up, where they're from, things they've done or whatever, the way they were treated. It could be any number of things. So all these defense mechanisms are there to protect that fear, to protect that shame. So if you were to ask them for something, you need help, whatever, they might just say, yeah, no problem, yeah, I'll do that. And they might do that because it could be the narcissism could be quite altruistic, and that they get their supply through being the most generous, amazing person, whatever. But what they want is, it's almost like your endless gratitude. They want you to, it's almost like you devote your life to them. You have to be so eternally grateful for them, or grateful to them. But then other times, you might ask them for something, and even if it's not that unreasonable, it could be just something normal. You're making coffee. Any chance I could get a cup? Yeah, whatever. Just something. It's not that difficult. To the narcissistic person, you're now trying to control them. You're now trying to take away their autonomy. You're making them do something. You're trying to inflict something on them, and the defense mechanism kicks in, and it's a no. No, you're not doing it. I was going to have coffee, but now that you have asked, I'm not going to have coffee. Either that, or it's, get it yourself, or whatever it is. Even when you offer them something that, you offer them something they've always wanted, they'll tell you no. Now, they don't want you to feel as if you have done something special for them. Anything you do for them, they have to be in control of it. They have to own it. It can drive people insane sometimes, asking them, or wondering why they keep getting rejected whenever they're only offering nice things, good things. But that's one of the reasons. It could be that fear of being controlled, that fear of a loss of autonomy. When it comes to maybe borrowing stuff, whether that's money or equipment or your time or whatever, now it could be they do have a genuine need, which is fair enough. And when they promise they'll pay you back or whatever, they could well, in that moment, be very genuine, be sincere. They might mean it with all intention. But the thing about narcissism as well, a lot of the time they think very much in the here and now. So in that moment, they're being genuine. They're going to offer to pay it back, to return the favor. But as soon as you ask for it, well, they've changed their mind, and now you're trying to control them. The fact that you have maybe done something for them stops being appreciated. Remember that huge sense of entitlement, that was theirs. That was theirs by right. You're supposed to do things for them. You're supposed to give them things. You didn't do anything above and beyond. They don't necessarily see why they should have to repay the favor or whatever. When you're trying to explain something, explain why something is really important to them, remember those defense mechanisms come up. If you're saying something that doesn't fit with their narrative, or doesn't maybe have them look in a good light or something, that's going to be rejected. That goes against their narrative. That's telling them they're wrong, and if they're wrong, they're bad. So you're telling them maybe about the impact of their behavior. You didn't like being lied to. You don't like being devalued. You don't like being cheated on. You don't like being taken for granted, whatever it is. They're being told they've done something wrong. That is rejected. One of the ways they would defend themselves is to deflect blame back onto you. What about the time you did this? Or what about the time you said that? So they're changing the nature of the conversation. Another thing they can do is they can, and I would say feign, okay? They pretend they don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? When did this happen? What was the question again? Where am I? Are these my feet? They act very confused. I would suggest they do get it. They do understand perfectly. They just will not acknowledge it. Because to acknowledge some kind of a fault would have to acknowledge they've done something wrong. To acknowledge they've done something wrong could be crushingly shameful and painful. Do they ever feel sorry and do they ever feel regret? Yes. But what happens is only for a moment. Remember what I said about the whimsical nature and thinking very much in the here and now. They might feel regret for doing or saying something. I would suggest the regret they feel is because they're now maybe facing consequences. That's what they regret. That's what they don't want to have to face. So they're sorry because they're having to face consequences. Other than that, they might feel sorry because maybe they went too far, they've pushed you too far, they've said something, they've done something, and that's it. You're done with them. They're not getting anything else from you. Off you go. You know what? Live your best life, buddy. I'm done with you. So they might feel sorry and they might feel regret, but again, that's only going to last a moment because that defense mechanism is going to kick in. The feeling of shame, the feeling of regret is going to be rejected, and the narrative will be shifted. They are now being victimized. You will not talk to them for whatever reason. They're lovely people. They're wonderful people, and you won't answer their phone calls. You've blocked them on social media. When they start to create things like you hear about smear campaigns and things like that, sometimes it is to try to preempt what you might say to other people. They fear that you might tell other people what they did. So one of the things they do is to try to get in there first, to tell their version. It's like the more times they tell a story, the more true it becomes, or they believe the more true it becomes. Narcissistic person will minimize your accomplishments, your qualities, your achievements. If they can't minimize it, they'll try and undermine it. For example, if you even just come home, I had a really good day at work. The fact that you're having a good time and you're feeling good about yourself, and that has nothing to do with them. They can feel as if something has been taken from them. Your attention is now not on them. So they might fear they're going to lose their narcissistic supply. They need your constant attention, your constant validation. So what they might say is they might say something like, well, it wasn't that big a deal. Anyone could have done that. Or, well, that's not as bad. It's not as difficult as the project I'm working on. One way or another, they'll try to undermine it. Or they might, if they find out you're going out on a Friday night, they might pull some kind of sickie, their skull has fallen out or something, and you need to stay at home and look after them. Whatever it is, they'll try to take it away from you. They need constant validation, constant attention. They need people to collude with their fantasies, their delusions. So if there's something else going on in your life and that takes your attention away from them, well, that has to be shut down. That has to be stopped. It couldn't be that big a deal. If you're ill, badly injured, whatever, you're lying in hospital with your leg in plaster or whatever, that's an inconvenience to them because you can't scuttle around after them. You can't do things for them. So really what you're dealing with when you're dealing with a narcissistic person, you're trying to get through so many defense mechanisms. And that's not easy because as one is maybe addressed, another one kicks in. And as that one is maybe trying to get round or through that one, then another one kicks in. And on it goes. There's an example I used on a live stream a while ago, and I put it out in video. It's like the Borg in Star Trek. Every time you do or say something, it'll work for a brief moment, but then they've adapted. So you can't do the same thing again. You have to think of another way of saying it or another way of trying to get through it. And that's really what you're dealing with narcissistic defense mechanisms. As one is addressed, another one kicks in. You say something to them and it makes them stop, think, pause for a moment. It's not long before they're back. But then you might say the same thing again. They now have an answer for you. And again, that can drive people insane.